1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood is the best adaptation of the Robin Hood myth ever put on film. You're more than welcome to disagree, as I slowly back out the door.
Outcast.
We all know the story of Robin Hood, robbing from the rich to give to the poor. No, Robin Hood's all about taxes and tyranny. In the last 1,000 years of Western civilization, there have been two new mythologies, the Western and Robin Hood. King Richard's reign was just a few generations after the Norman conquest. England was a nation under foreign rule. The majority of the population was Anglo-Saxon. The rulers were Norman. They didn't even speak the same language. Neither group liked each other, and they made no bones about it. As much as we like to romanticize King Richard, he was a lousy king. He spent hardly any time in England. He appointed lousy regents who mismanaged England while he was off gallivanting around. He died squabbling over a castle in France, after all. Prince John was a piece of work in his own right. Greedy, ruthless, and ambitious. When he became king, he was so tyrannical and so abusive to the Norman nobles that they rose up in opposition, drug him kicking and screaming to a conference where they forced him to sign the Magna Carta, introducing the idea that there were limits to the king's power. If John treated the Norman nobility so badly that they were ready to chop off his head and find a new king, you can imagine how badly he treated the Anglo-Saxon common folk. On his way back from the Crusades, King Richard was captured and held for ransom. Prince John saw an opportunity. Raise taxes in the name of paying the ransom, but in reality, use that money to hire mercenaries, pay off followers, bribes, whatever it took to take over. The only problem? England was broke. This was due to Richard's disinterest in ruling and the ineptness of the people that he left in charge, including John. John's solution? Just squeeze a little harder. It's just Saxons, after all. Screw them. People who have nothing aren't dangerous. People who have something and you take it all away from them, those are dangerous people. The reason why the Norman nobility was so desperate to stop John once he became king? Saxons were developing a very nasty habit of murdering Normans. They were pretty much in open revolt. The Normans were in danger of losing control. Out of these troubled times came the legends of Robin Hood, stories about men who had been outlawed by Prince John for failure to pay their taxes. They rebelled, began to kill every tax collector they could find, take the money, and return it back to the people. These men lived by a very simple motto: you steal from us, we'll just steal it back. So no, the story is not about stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. It's about tyranny and the dangers of pushing people too far. I wonder why authority types would want to tweak that message. The adventures of Robin Hood start with Prince John plotting to take over England. He's at a banquet hosted by his loyal henchman, Sir Guy of Gisborne, where he announces he's kicked out the regent. He's starting to make his moves to take over. Everybody in attendance has no problem with this. They're happy to support him. But suddenly, there's a commotion at the door. In comes one of the few last remaining Saxon lords, Sir Robin of Locksley, carrying in a deer. He's flaunting breaking the king's law. Robin, played by the irrepressible Errol Flynn, calls Prince John the traitor to his face. He then declares that he's going to lead a rebellion to fight against John's tyranny until Richard returns. And he doesn't miss an opportunity to flirt with Maid Marian while he's at it. On the side note, it's a preference thing, but in my opinion, Olivia de Havilland is one of the most beautiful women to come out of Hollywood. There's a big fight with lots of broken furniture. Robin escapes, and then he and his band of merry men begin to eliminate tax collectors. The merry men ambush a major tax shipment. In the process, they capture Sir Guy of Gisborne, the Sheriff of Nottingham, and Maid Marian. They very politely invite them to a feast. And when I say politely, I mean at the point of a sword. Kind of the same thing, right? This gives Marian the opportunity to see the real-world consequences of John's rule. Also gives her the opportunity to get to know Robin a little better. You might say sparks start to fly. Prince John is getting really annoyed with this Robin fellow. He has to go, and like yesterday. So Prince John and his henchmen hatch a plan. They're going to host a tournament to determine who's the best archer in all of England. And the icing on the cake, the winner is going to receive a golden arrow from Maid Marian. They're going to lure out Robin. Robin shows up. He wins. He gets the arrow, gets to flirt with the girl. Big fight, lots of broken furniture, and Robin's captured. Sir Guy runs a kangaroo court, where he declares that Robin will be executed on the morrow. Maid Marian, she's smitten. She sneaks out of the castle and warns the merry men. They stage a last-minute rescue. John's done messing around. He's just going to declare himself king. But there are now reports that Richard might be in England. So John sends one of his henchmen to go murder his brother. Maid Marian overhears their plot. So John and Sir Guy throw her in the dungeon. Robin and King Richard join forces. They confront Prince John. There's a big battle. Lots more broken furniture. Robin kills Sir Guy and saves Maid Marian. England is saved. Hurrah! And the hero gets the princess. I saw Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves in a theater when it first came out. I really liked the movie. It's a lot of fun. But one of the criticisms I've always had is I think that version is sullen and mean-spirited. The Adventures of Robin Hood doesn't have that problem. It just bubbles over with exuberance, enthusiasm, and outright joy. People go about their lives with glee. The Adventures of Robin Hood came out in 1938. America was still in the throes of the Great Depression. It was a horrible time in American history. Few people alive today understand how truly terrible that period was. On top of that, war clouds were forming. Dark stories were beginning to circulate as to what was going on in Europe. The future wasn't looking any better. And then you go to the movies, and you see people from a different time and different place experiencing problems that just might be worse than yours. How do they respond? With joy, happiness, friendship, camaraderie, self-sacrifice, loyalty, dedication, love. Back when Hollywood could inspire. The movie definitely has messages about the dangers of foreign adventurism, fighting other people's wars. It argues that you should take care of your own first. It also acknowledges, though, that sometimes there are times you need to fight. There are causes worth sacrificing and dying over. But the main message that I've always taken away is what's your attitude? No matter how tough life is, how rough the road gets, why not just laugh about it? Better yet, laugh about it with those you love the most. Attitude is everything. It affects how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. I grew up in extreme poverty. I knew we didn't have a lot of money, but in our world, that really didn't matter that much. It was all because of my parents' attitude. No matter how rough things were going, how bad the day might have been, how bleak the future might be looking, supper was always a joyous occasion. Laughter, joking, pranks, my dad telling silly stories, my mom giggling, us kids falling all over ourselves laughing. That constant joy and happiness had a profound effect on other aspects of our lives. We were expected to carry ourselves with pride and dignity at all times. Our clothes might be old, worn hand-me-downs, but they were clean, old, worn hand-me-downs. My father demanded that I keep my boots polished at all times. My parents would not allow anyone to disparage or disrespect their children just because our family didn't have a bank account that was as big as somebody else's. The school district lived in fear of my mother because joy and happiness are worth protecting, worth fighting for, worth enduring hardship for. I've been incredibly lucky in my life, accomplished way more than I ever dreamed as a kid on that farm. I have nothing to complain about. But what I wouldn't give to go back to 1984, to have one more supper, to hear that laughter and experience that joy, to taste my dad's cornbread one more time, especially seeing how we're coming up on 10 years since my dad and brother have been gone. Back in the days when Hollywood could inspire hope. Needless to say, I like the movie. I recommend you go watch it. At any rate, I hope I've given you all something to think about, and until next time, you all be safe. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. While you're at it, why don't you like this video and subscribe to the channel?
Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment.